There are moments in life when sleep leaves you unexpectedly. The room is silent, the world is still, and the clock quietly shows 3 a.m. At this age of life, when you have already walked many roads, faced responsibilities, tasted success and disappointment, you no longer believe in coincidences easily. You know that some moments carry weight. Some awakenings are not random. They come with a purpose. This message is for the man who has lived long enough to understand silence, who has carried burdens without complaint, who has prayed not loudly but deeply. If you have been waking up at 3 a.m. again and again, listen carefully. This is not fear, and this is not superstition. This is wisdom, discernment, and divine timing. What you are about to hear is not rushed. It is steady, thoughtful, and grounded, just like the season of life you are in. Let your heart be calm as you listen. When God wakes a man at 3 a.m., He is not trying to frighten him. He is inviting him. At this hour, distractions are few. Phones are quiet. The demands of the day have not yet begun. The mind, though tired, is open. The heart, softened by stillness, can hear what it ignores during daylight. At 40, 50, or 60 years of age, you have learned that God often speaks softly. Not through noise, not through urgency, but through a gentle stirring within. You wake up, and for a moment you wonder why. There is no loud dream. No obvious reason. Just an awareness. A sense that you are meant to be awake. This is not the hour for panic. This is the hour for attention. Many men at this stage of life carry unspoken concerns. Worries about children, about health, about finances, about unfinished responsibilities. During the day, you manage these thoughts. At night, they surface. God allows you to wake at this hour not to burden you further, but to show you that you are not carrying these matters alone. There is a reason the scriptures say that God neither slumbers nor sleeps. While you rest, He watches. And sometimes He wakes you so you can align your thoughts with His perspective rather than your own. At 3 a.m., the world is quiet enough for truth to rise. This hour has always been significant. Long before modern life, before artificial lights and constant noise, this was considered a watch hour. A time when shepherds were awake, guarding what was valuable. A time when those entrusted with responsibility stayed alert, while others slept. If God wakes you at this hour, it may be because He trusts you with awareness. You are no longer in the season of reckless youth. You are in a season of stewardship. You understand the value of time. You understand the cost of mistakes. You understand that life is not endless, and therefore every moment has meaning. At 3 a.m., God may be asking you to reflect. Not to relive regrets, but to see clearly. There are decisions you postponed. Conversations you avoided. Directions you sensed but did not follow because life became busy. In the stillness of this hour, God gently brings them back, not with accusation, but with clarity. He speaks to the man who is willing to listen without arguing. You may feel prompted to pray, not in long words, but in honest sentences. You may feel led to think about someone specific. A child who needs guidance. A friend who needs support. A situation that requires wisdom rather than force. This is not imagination. This is alignment. At this hour, God also reveals what is draining you. He shows you where your strength has been leaking, through worry, through resentment, through carrying burdens you were never meant to carry alone. A man who has lived long enough knows the cost of holding everything inside. God wakes you to remind you that you can lay these weights down, even if only for a few minutes in the quiet. If you are honest, you will notice that these awakenings often come during seasons of transition. When something is ending. When something new is forming. When clarity is needed more than action. At 3 a.m., God is not asking you to fix everything. He is asking you to see. To see that some battles are not yours to fight. To see that some doors you have been forcing are meant to remain closed. To see that some paths you feared are actually protected. A man in his 40s, 50s, or 60s understands patience. God speaks to that patience at this hour. He strengthens it. He steadies it. This is also a time when God renews perspective. During the day, you see problems up close. At night, He helps you see them from above. You may realize that what you thought was failure was actually redirection. You may realize that what you feared losing was holding you back. You may realize that what you have been praying for requires preparation, not hurry. God does not waste your wakefulness. If He wakes you at 3 a.m., He may be sharpening your discernment, teaching you to recognize what deserves your energy and what does not, teaching you to respond rather than react. This hour trains the soul to be calm under pressure. It is also an hour of honesty. You cannot impress anyone at 3 a.m. There is no audience, no performance, only you and your thoughts. God values this honesty. If you feel the urge to simply sit quietly, do not rush to distract yourself. Silence is not empty. It is full of answers waiting to surface. Many men miss this because they immediately reach for noise. But wisdom grows in stillness. At this stage of life, you do not need louder motivation. You need deeper understanding. And God knows that. That is why He chooses the hour when the world is quiet enough for truth to settle. When you wake at 3 a.m., you may notice that your thoughts are different from daytime thinking. They are slower, more reflective, less defensive. This is intentional. God uses this state of mind to speak to the man beneath the roles you play. You are not just a provider, a worker, or a problem solver. You are a soul in progress. At this hour, God often addresses the questions you avoid asking yourself during the day. Questions about purpose, about legacy, about what truly matters in the years ahead. A younger man worries about success. A mature man thinks about significance. God speaks to significance at 3 a.m. He may bring memories to the surface, not to trap you in the past, but to show patterns. To help you recognize what has shaped you, what has strengthened you, and what has wounded you. Understanding brings healing. You may sense God asking you to forgive, not because the other person deserves it, but because you deserve peace. At this age, you know the weight of carrying old grudges. They tire the body. They cloud the mind. God wakes you to release them. This hour is also when God restores courage. Courage does not always look like bold action. Sometimes it looks like quiet obedience. Like choosing rest instead of worry. Like trusting timing instead of forcing outcomes. God may be reminding you that you have done enough striving. That some things will resolve not through effort, but through surrender. You may feel prompted to pray for protection. Not just physical, but emotional and spiritual. God honors these prayers because they come from awareness, not fear. He also uses this hour to warn gently. Not with panic, but with wisdom. He may highlight a habit that needs adjustment. A relationship that requires boundaries. A direction that needs reevaluation. These are not condemnations. They are course corrections. A man who listens at 3 a.m. avoids greater trouble later. God respects experience. He does not speak to you as someone who needs to be controlled, but as someone who can be trusted with truth. That is why the message is often subtle. You may not hear words, but you feel clarity. You may not receive instructions, but you gain peace. Peace is a form of guidance. If God wakes you at this hour repeatedly, it may be because He is training you to recognize His presence without noise. To depend on discernment rather than signs. This kind of relationship matures over time. At this stage of life, faith is less about excitement and more about stability. God meets you there. He may also be strengthening you for others. A calm, grounded man becomes a source of reassurance. Your quiet confidence, shaped in these early hours, will later steady others who are anxious. You may not realize it now, but what God does in you privately will support others publicly. This is why He values your attention at 3 a.m. Not every message is urgent. Some are foundational. Some are preparing you for conversations you have not yet had. Some are preparing you for changes you have not yet seen. And some are simply reminding you that you are not alone in this season of life. As the minutes pass in this quiet hour, you may feel your breathing slow. Your shoulders relax. Your mind clear. This is not accidental. God restores strength in stillness. And as this awareness deepens, as understanding begins to settle, there is more that unfolds, about timing, about trust, about what lies ahead and what must be left behind. As these awakenings continue, God begins to deal not only with your thoughts, but with your direction. At this stage of life, direction matters more than speed. You have already learned that moving fast in the wrong direction costs more than moving slowly in the right one. At 3 a.m., God often brings alignment. You may notice that certain desires you once had no longer stir you the same way. Things that once felt urgent now feel distant. This is not loss of passion, this is refinement of purpose. God removes noise so you can recognize what truly belongs to you. At this hour, He may show you where you have been living out of habit instead of intention, where routine has replaced meaning, where comfort has quietly taken the place of calling. This is not criticism. It is invitation. A man who has lived long enough knows that life can slowly become mechanical if reflection is avoided. God wakes you to prevent that. You may feel prompted to reconsider how you spend your energy. Who receives your attention? What drains you without giving anything back? At 3 a.m., God teaches you the value of boundaries. Not everyone deserves access to your inner world. Not every problem requires your involvement. Wisdom is knowing the difference. God may also bring clarity about timing. Some things you have been waiting for are not delayed, they are protected. If they came earlier, they would have cost you peace. You begin to understand that unanswered prayers are sometimes answered through restraint. At this hour, God also speaks about legacy. Not in grand speeches, but in quiet realizations. You may sense that your influence now matters more than your achievements. What you model will outlast what you accomplish. God may remind you that the people watching you, children, younger men, even strangers, are learning how to handle pressure, loss, and faith by observing how you carry yourself. This awareness changes how you move through life. You may notice a deeper patience forming, a willingness to wait, a refusal to rush what needs time. This patience is strength. God often uses 3 a.m. to rebuild inner order, to put thoughts back in their proper place, to restore priorities that became blurred. You may feel a sense of quiet resolve afterward. Not excitement, but steadiness. Steadiness is a sign of maturity. At this stage, God is less interested in making you impressive and more interested in making you grounded. Because grounded men endure storms without losing themselves. As this pattern deepens, you may begin to notice that these awakenings are not always about you alone. Sometimes, God wakes you because someone else needs covering. At 3 a.m., intercession carries weight. You may suddenly think of someone you have not spoken to in a long time. Someone who is struggling quietly. Someone facing a decision that will shape their future. God trusts you with awareness because you have learned discretion. You do not rush to speak. You first reflect. At this hour, prayers are simple and sincere. There is no performance. No repetition. Just honesty. God listens closely to such prayers. You may also sense God asking you to prepare, not with anxiety, but with readiness. To get certain things in order. To simplify. To release what is unnecessary. Preparation brings peace. A man who prepares calmly does not fear change. God may also be strengthening your inner life because external demands will increase. What He builds in you at 3 a.m. will support you at 3 p.m. This is how wisdom is formed, in quiet consistency, not dramatic moments. You may begin to notice that your reactions during the day change. You respond with less irritation. You listen more than you speak. You choose silence where you once chose argument. This is fruit. God works from the inside out. If He wakes you again at this hour, do not resist it. Do not label it as inconvenience. See it as investment. Not every season requires action. Some require attention. And as this attention grows, as your awareness deepens, there is still more God reveals, about trust, about the next season of your life, and about what must quietly come to an end so something stronger can begin. As you continue to respond to these quiet awakenings, God begins to deal with trust at a deeper level. Not the kind of trust that asks for signs, but the kind that rests without explanations. At this stage of life, you already know that not everything will make sense immediately. Experience has taught you that understanding often comes later. God builds on that wisdom at 3 a.m. He teaches you to trust without needing control. You may realize how much energy you once spent trying to manage outcomes, planning every detail, preparing for every possible scenario. God gently shows you that some outcomes are not meant to be managed, only entrusted. This is where peace matures. At 3 a.m., God may remind you that your responsibility is obedience, not results. You are called to be faithful, not flawless. This realization lifts a quiet burden. You may notice that your prayers change. You stop asking God to fix everything immediately. Instead, you ask for wisdom, endurance, and clarity. These prayers are answered in ways that last. God also addresses fear during this hour. Not surface fear, but the deeper kind, the fear of becoming irrelevant, the fear of being misunderstood, the fear of not finishing well. God reassures you without words. You may sense a calm confidence forming, one that does not depend on validation. A confidence rooted in knowing who you are and whose you are. This is strength refined by time. At this hour, God may also invite you to let go of comparisons, to stop measuring your journey against others. You have learned that every path carries its own cost and reward. God reminds you that your story is sufficient. You may begin to understand that finishing well matters more than starting strong. This awareness influences your choices. You become more intentional with your words, more careful with your promises, more present with the people who matter. God values this intentionality. At 3 a.m., He may also be restoring hope, not the loud, optimistic kind, but the quiet assurance that whatever lies ahead will be met with grace. Hope at this stage of life is steady, not dramatic. You may feel a renewed sense of purpose, not to chase new ambitions, but to walk faithfully in what has already been entrusted to you. God does not rush this process. He allows understanding to unfold slowly, because depth cannot be hurried. If you wake again at this hour, know this: God is not calling you backward. He is preparing you forward. Not for noise, but for meaning. Not for applause, but for endurance. And as this trust deepens, as fear loosens its grip, there remains yet another layer, about release, about acceptance, and every step you take in faith is writing the next line.